Hi, my name is Laura and I'm from County Kilkenny, Ireland. And I'm another member of Aspida's Public and Patient Involvement Group and a member of Chronic Pain Ireland. This is our final exercise on which we are requesting your feedback. The exercise is a short metaphor called Passengers on the Bus and illustrates how dealing with all the stigmatized thoughts and feelings might be a bit like being a bus driver. Follow me on this exercise and let's figure out what I did with these troublemaker passengers.
Passengers on the Bus by me, Dr. Jess McCloskey. In Passengers on the Bus, you can think of your life as being like a bus. Your bus will take you places, you will go on a journey. Your entire life is in that bus. And you, of course, are the driver of that bus. You get to decide where you go, when you go, how fast you go. But you're not alone on that bus. You have, through your life, picked up passengers. The thoughts, the experiences, the emotions, the ways of understanding who you are, carry along with you on that bus. This passenger might be the voice of your mother, always a little bit critical, not sure you're doing the right thing. Passenger might be the idea of what it is to be a professional, a proper lady or gentleman. It might be the passenger of an old teacher who didn't quite believe that you'd be able to do what you want. Or just a sort of scared childlike part of you that wants you to stay safe and is worried that you're going to do things that aren't safe. Whatever the passengers are, whatever the experiences you've picked up, they come along with you. And these passengers will try to influence the direction you take your bus. So when you find yourself trying to decide whether you're going to take a path towards meaningful action, towards doing things that matter to you, or staying in the same old thing, the same old route, the same old path, your passengers can sometimes show up, try to convince you of what you should do. That might be that idea that your mother has given you of what's okay for you to do or what you shouldn't do, or that idea of what is proper or okay for you to do, or the idea of what you can do, what aren't you capable of doing. Maybe you shouldn't do something because you're afraid that you'll embarrass yourself. Or just that feeling of, it wouldn't be safe for me to try something new. Maybe I shouldn't do it. All of your passengers will have an opinion, and they will be trying to help you. All of us have experience in our lives that have tried to lead us to thinking through what's the best way for me to be. But this feeling of fighting, of arguing with our passengers, can cause us an awful lot of distress. There we are trying to find a way to move forward into a meaningful action, into something that feels important to us. But we'll have experiences, thoughts, feelings that will be trying to say to us, don't do it. They'll be saying to us, maybe you can't do it. Maybe you just aren't capable. That might show up as that old, familiar feeling of people who didn't believe in you, and they sound like they're giving you good advice. But what they're really saying to you is, maybe you should just wait. Maybe you aren't quite ready for it. Those passengers might show up and saying to you, it's safer for you to just keep doing what you've always been doing. Maybe it's not full of meaning for you, but it's okay. Those passengers might show up and just say to you, maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe it's silly. Maybe there's no reason for you to try and do this next important thing. If you get caught up with trying to argue with those passengers, you can find yourself using up all of your energy. If you find yourself trying to agree with them, making a deal with them, you can find yourself being pulled in directions that weren't really where you wanted to go. So what we think about with this metaphor is whether there isn't a way to do it a little bit differently. To instead choose the direction of travel we want our bus to go. To choose that path where we say, that's the direction of a meaningful life. And once we've discovered that path, once we've identified our values, choosing to go down that path towards a meaningful life anyway, regardless of those passages. We don't need to get rid of them. We don't need to fight them. We don't need to best them. We don't even need to get them to agree with us. We can make them smaller. We can make them a little bit less important. We can still hear what they're saying to us. We're not giving up that aspect of ourselves. We're not moving away from our past experiences, the things that had meaning to us at a previous point in our life. But we're making them smaller. We're saying, come along with me, but I'm going to determine the direction that I go. I can bring that scared child part of myself, that nagging mother, that disbelieving teacher, that idea of what a proper lady or gentleman should do, and I can put them in my pocket. I can put them in a little wagon, and I can carry them along with me. The driver of the bus decides which way to go. So what do you need to remember from this idea of passengers on the bus is, you can think of your life as being like a bus. You are the driver. But you aren't alone on that bus. And it's important to remember that some of your passengers will sound like you, but they are just passengers. They're the passengers that you've picked up along the way. And if you get caught up with wanting to fight those thoughts, those feelings, those experiences, those passengers, or waiting for them to suddenly leave you alone, or actually taking their advice, waiting, changing directions, you might find that you're missing out on some of the chances that will present themselves to you to take a path towards more meaningful action and a more valued life. Instead, what we're suggesting is that you can learn to carry those passengers with you. You don't need to get rid of them. You don't need to change their ways. You don't need to fight them. You can carry them with you, but continue making valued, meaningful actions in your life. And that's passengers on the bus.
So I'm sharing this story with you because I personally found it really useful to be able to know what I should do with all of the troublemaker passengers that hijack my bus. You may have noticed that basically you have two choices when you have to deal with the troublemaker passengers of your own life bus. Choice 1 is that you do what they say as long as they don't come up to the front of the bus and threaten you and make you change direction. The problem with this is that you do what they ask and change direction in order to get them to stop bothering you. Pretty soon, they don't even have to tell you to turn left. You know, as soon as you get near a left turn, the passengers are going to get loud and threaten you. Eventually, you may get good enough and almost pretend that these troublemaker passengers are not on the bus at all. You just tell yourself that left is the only direction you want to turn. This basically means that you're constantly deviating your route to the directions these passengers want you to go. These passengers are in fact your stigmatized thoughts. Or choice 2. You can keep driving towards your values even if these passengers who represent stigmatized thoughts keep threatening you, imposing stigma on you, or making you stigmatize yourself. Now, what you really need to remember about this whole scenario is that the only power these troublemaker passengers have over you is that they threaten that if you don't do what we say, we're coming up and we're making you change direction. But that's it. It's true that when they come up, they look like they could do a whole lot more. They've got knives, chains, weapons, and it looks like they can really hurt you. But the passengers are just stigmatized thoughts and feelings, and although thoughts and feelings can be painful, they can't physically hurt us, even if they seem like they can. Thanks to the Aspida, as we have already seen in the previous exercises, we cannot always control others who impose stigma on us, or we cannot always control our minds who impose self-stigma, but we do have a choice. We just have to firstly unhook ourselves and secondly follow our values. So, no matter what passengers are on the bus, you are the driver of the bus and can go where you need to go with whatever passengers are on board. The choice is yours. I'm Laura, and on behalf of the whole Aspida team, I would like to thank you for staying with us. We are now looking forward to hosting you on one of our focus groups and getting your opinions about the exercises we presented to you. Goodbye for now.